politicians still sleep and opens one eye for an instant and
Kevin, if you don't mind, I'd love to do it, since typically the way we did our productions, and this is kind of ubiquitous across everything during my tenure in White, typically would start off with a music piece, and I would begin with putting together demos, or in this case, restructuring songs, reorchestrating the songs, and sometimes the vocals would be done on Origins, but in other times, in the case of Dangerous Highway specifically, Kevin came back and we redid the opening verses of Dangerous Highway. And Kevin and I did change the lyrics a little bit. There was a reason for that, and that had to do with the fact that the way the orchestrations were moving on Dangerous Highway. You know, it starts off Moog solo, I'm playing acoustic guitar under it, there's mellotrons and this kind of really ethereal, disconnected, there's no real rhythm. Alan's playing some kick drum to emphasize some of the tribal rhythms. But really it's this floaty synth acoustic guitar thing, almost a Floydian thing, really. And with that in mind, and the Dangerous Highway, this danger aspect, which is what I was really trying to put into the orchestrations and the music and the choices of voicings that I used and the sounds. The initial lyrics weren't quite dangerous enough for me. That's how I remember it. And Kevin came down here and I said, Kevin, I'm not buying. I said, it's not dangerous enough for me. Can we? And there was a couple words here and there that I suggested, and I don't remember who ended up picking the final words, but Kevin and I sat down there. He changed the tone of his vocal. And one thing about Origin songs in general, Kevin sings in a particular style that we radically changed from Loyal onwards. And I wanted that new, because we had already started recording Loyal, I wanted that aggression, that spit, that frustration, that anger, that fear that manifests itself as anger. I wanted that in the tone, and I wanted a little bit of foreshadowing in the lyrics. So the opening, we ended up changing some of that in Dangerous Highway. The other thing that's interesting, this is a production stuff that I'm excited about. I took Kevin's voice, and we actually ran his voice through a large reverb backwards. So on every one of the phrases in the verse of Dangerous Highway, you will hear, in my mind, it was life rewinding and putting you in this place. So you'll hear this reverse echo, and Kevin hits with the first lyric. You hear that through each of the lines in the verses. And that was something that was, for me, very important to the song, because it was the things in the past that put you here. For the most part, I have certain ideas and I see stories. For me, it's important that the lyrics reflect the story that's being told, and that's why we did those changes. And I love Dangerous Highway because of that. For the one production thing, but also the way that we just put a little bit of an edge on a song to match the music, orchestrations, and production of it.
Absolutely. You know, I think, and I might want to add that Ted Stockwell is very diligent, extremely diligent, and I admire that about him. And I've met many characters in my life, and I think that is an extreme asset. And when you throw the talent and his capabilities talent-wise into that with his diligence, it does. It narrows it down to where there's some great production quality on these songs. And I had no idea at the beginning. I had kind of forgotten about these songs indirectly. I knew we recorded them. And then lo and behold, when Ted and I were talking, and we hadn't talked for a while, and he had kind of the rough track of these songs, and I listened to them in a parking lot over at the South Center, and it brought tears to my eyes because of the impact, and I knew the power of these songs, and for me the lyrics of these songs were huge, but what he had done to them was just awesome, and that's why they were here, and they sound powerful.
I agree. I think they sound great, and these songs, I believe you guys played them in Merkaba, some of these songs.
We did.
I think I remember playing these songs in Merkaba. The thing that is really different from the white versions of this versus the Merkaba is the keyboards and the electric guitars. So in Dangerous Highway, it starts off with keyboards and this, and by the end of it, you've got this, these electric guitars they're kind of mean, and they're just kind of sitting under there with a growl. The piano parts actually switch into a motif that are more of an orchestral motif that fits in really quite nice with what is happening from the vocals. And that kind of interplay between elements is, to me, what makes the song so fantastic. It's got a great beat. Alan did some really cool drum fills and brought this, this nice use of toms in almost an orchestral way throughout the track, and it just feels great. So for me, and the other thing that I will talk about, when we did this, of course there was no ordering to the songs, and we're going through and talking about them in the order that they happen to be on Origins. But it was really the great Kevin Currie who had listened to them and thought, wow, they really feel like here's the story as it should be told, and we've got to start out with Love Will Always Return. That's really paramount. But Dangerous Highway has to be the next song. It really has to be great. He was really drawn to Alan's drum fills, his tom work, and just that feeling of what was going on. The ethereal aspects that were throughout the song. There's just some really nice stuff. And so that's why we ended up with Dangerous Highway in the second position. Kevin Currie DJ'd this record.
Well, and they do.